Hey, the Constitution founded our great country. Back in a moment. Only kidding. I got more. But one Georgetown law professor says, so what? We should just scrap it.
In a recent op-ed, Louis Michael Seidman wrote, "The obsession with the Constitution has saddled us with a dysfunctional political system. Instead of arguing about what's to be done, we argue about what James Madison may have wanted 225 years ago."
So do our freedoms vested within the Constitution hold up against the test of time? Joining us right now is Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Napolitano. So this professor from down at Georgetown,
right,
he's saying let's just throw that thing out because it's old and no longer applies.
Let me start by saying he is a well-respected legal scholar. He's not just a crackpot. And some of what he says is, his argument is, people disregard the Constitution, so why should we pretend we still have one? That's about the best argument that he can make.
Right.
But what he really means is the government should be able to write any law, regulate any behavior, tax any event, as long as it's for the common good. We don't have that system here. If the government could do whatever it wanted, guess what would die? Personal liberty would die. Think of it this way. The purpose of the Constitution is to govern the government, to restrain it, to make sure the Congress writes the laws, the president enforces the laws, the courts interpret the laws. They don't do everybody else's job.
Limited government.
To limit power, to keep it from being concentrated in one place.
But, Judge, he doesn't just say that people disregard it, so what's the use? He goes on to say it's archaic, it's idiosyncratic, it has downright evil provisions.
Well, there were some evil provisions in the original Constitution which permitted the trade in human bondage, the slave trade, and which failed to outlaw slavery. We obviously took care of that with the Civil War and the Civil War amendments. But the Constitution is actually brilliant. It disperses power. It gives us checks and balances. It assures that too much power won't end up in one place. Now, there have been amendments to the Constitution, amendments by consensus, meaning the government has just done things and no one's objected. That's why there's so much power in Washington, taxes are so high, and the president can start a war, can write EPA regulations on his own, even regulations that the Congress has rejected. That's the fault of the Congress and the courts for not keeping him in check when he does that. I don't mean just President Obama. Right. This is a characteristic of modern-day presidents.
And he doesn't offer an alternative. Okay, we have the Constitution. Let's just forget it.
Let's go back to the Magna Carta.
The good professor is a Wilsonian, as in Woodrow Wilson, who honestly believed, this is in my new book, Theodore and Woodrow, how two American presidents destroyed constitutional freedoms, but they both believed that the Constitution did not mean what it said, and that the government could do whatever it wanted as long as its purposes were noble. Guess what? We don't have a monarchy. The government has to obey the laws that it has written, and the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. If you want to amend it, but you can't overlook it.